Did you know that beneath the calm blue surface of our oceans, there are monsters that actually exist? Not in stories, not in sailors' imagination, but real, living creatures, so bizarre, so terrifying, they inspired centuries of myths. From a shadow big enough to swallow ships in the freezing waters of Norway, to a jet-black shark lurking off the coast of Mexico. Fishermen across the world have told the same story for generations. Something enormous moved beneath their boats, something that shouldn't exist. For centuries, people believed these tales were nothing more than legends, bedtime horror stories whispered between waves. But the deeper scientists explore, the clearer it becomes. Every myth begins with a moment of truth. What if the Kraken was real? What if Japan's sea demons weren't demons at all, but ancient predators still hiding in the dark? And what if, right now, something is still down there, watching? Stay until the end, because the last creature on this list will change the way you look at the ocean forever. So take a deep breath. We're diving into the unknown, where shadows move, legends breathe, and science meets fear. Welcome to the wild side of the sea. If you love discovering strange and unbelievable creatures like this, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join us. Because every week, we uncover the secrets nature never meant for us to see. For hundreds of years, sailors crossing the North Atlantic told stories of something that haunted the waves. A shadow so massive it could blot out the sun. A beast said to rise from the depths and drag ships into the abyss. They called it the Kraken. To those early sailors, the ocean was endless, cold, and alive with mystery. They spoke of strange rumblings below, of whirlpools that seemed to appear from nowhere, and of an island that moved, slowly, silently, until it revealed itself as a living creature. Imagine the terror of realizing the solid ground beneath your anchor had eyes. The Kraken became the ultimate sailor's nightmare, an octopus-like leviathan that waited in the dark northern seas, its tentacles coiling through the water like living ropes. When it surfaced, waves crashed, winds howled, and they said entire fleets could vanish without a trace. Even spotting it was considered an omen of death. But here's where myth and reality collide. Because centuries later, science would prove that something like the Kraken does exist. A creature hidden in the blackest depths, the giant squid. This real-life monster can grow over 43 feet long, with dinner plate-sized eyes built to see in total darkness, and tentacles armed with suction cups lined with teeth. These animals rarely reach the surface, but when they do, it's often in their final moments, dying in the light after a lifetime in the dark. Now imagine being a 17th century sailor, exhausted, half-starved, surrounded by stormy seas, and suddenly, a massive pale body bursts through the waves, its arms flailing, its siphon blasting water,
Camera glides
the sea
past one of
foaming
its suction
red
cups,
and the lightning's
each one
glow.
the size of a human torso, lined with
Wouldn't you
serrated
swear
hooks
you'd
that
just
twitch
seen a
independently
demon
like
rise
searching
from the deep?
fingers.
And every time a carcass washed ashore, or a whale turned up scarred with perfect circular sucker marks, the legend only grew. Over generations, fear and awe twisted fact into folklore, and the Kraken became a god of the sea. But the truth? The Kraken wasn't a myth. It was nature, misunderstood, magnified, and terrifyingly real. Proof that sometimes the ocean doesn't need to invent monsters. It already has them. Now, from the freezing north, we travel south, to the sunlit turquoise waters of Mexico's Sea of Cortez. But beneath that calm, tropical surface lurks a nightmare the locals call El Demonio Negro, the black demon shark. Fishermen describe it as enormous, over 50 feet long, with skin as black as the abyss and eyes like burning coals. Some say it rammed their boats with the force of a truck. Others claim they saw its massive fin slicing through the water, so huge it looked like a moving shadow beneath the sun. One fisherman recalled the moment his small wooden boat was hit so hard, he thought he'd struck a whale. But then the water turned dark, and from below rose a shape that made his blood freeze. A gigantic, jet-black shark staring straight at him. He said it wasn't just an animal, it felt evil. For decades, stories like these spread along Baja's coastline, passed from one generation of fishermen to the next. Many dismissed them as tall tales, but others began to wonder, could there really be a black demon shark roaming the Sea of Cortez? Some scientists believed it might just be a melanistic great white, a rare dark-colored mutation of the ocean's most famous predator. The only problem? No one's ever proven that a black great white actually exists. Others pointed to the whale shark, the biggest fish on Earth, gentle and slow, often swimming near Baja's coast. But the local fishermen know whale sharks better than anyone. They've fished those waters their entire lives, and they swear this creature is something else. After years of searching, marine researchers found a likely answer. The basking shark, a massive grayish shark that can grow over 60 feet long, with a gaping mouth wide enough to swallow a boat's bow. It's harmless, feeding only on plankton, but in dim light, its ghostly gray skin can look jet black, and its movements slow and eerie enough to make any fisherman believe they've just met the devil of the deep. So maybe, just maybe, El Demonio Negro is real. Not a killer, but a gentle giant misunderstood by fear and shadow. And sometimes, that's all a monster really is. Our next story takes us across the Pacific, to the rugged, mist-covered coastlines of western Japan. Here, for centuries, fishermen have feared a creature that strikes without warning and vanishes just as fast. They call it the Isadae. According to legend, it's a monstrous shark-like beast that never reveals its full body, only its tail. An enormous barbed weapon that lashes through the waves, hooking sailors, capsizing boats, and dragging entire crews beneath the raging sea. When the north winds blew and the ocean turned a strange, unnatural color, the villagers whispered, "The Isadae is awake." Some even claimed the beast could kill men standing on the shore. Its mighty tail striking so hard, it sent waves crashing over the beach. But as with every legend, there's a trace of truth hidden inside the fear. Japan's coastal waters are teeming with sharks. Nearly 1/3 of all known shark species can be found here. And among them is a real animal that fits the Isadae's description almost perfectly. The pelagic thresher shark, also known as the samurai shark. This extraordinary creature can reach over 12 feet long, and half of that length is its tail. A razor-like whip it uses to stun schools of fish. With a single lightning-fast strike, it can knock out dozens of prey in an instant. Now, imagine you're a fisherman, battling rough seas in a wooden boat, and you see only a long, silver whip slicing through the foam, the rest of the creature hidden by the storm. In that chaos, wouldn't it look like a monster's tail rising from the deep? And here's the twist. When touched, a thresher shark's skin feels like sandpaper, covered in tiny, abrasive scales. To terrified fishermen centuries ago, that would feel exactly like the hooks and barbs of the Isadae's tail. So maybe the Isadae wasn't a demon at all. Maybe it was a misunderstood predator, a graceful hunter mistaken for a killer. But in the stormy waters of ancient Japan, sometimes a flash of silver was all it took for legend to be born. Far out in the eastern Pacific Ocean, about 300 miles off the coast of Colombia, rises a jagged island made of stone, isolated, wild, and surrounded by deep blue water. Locals call it Malpelo, and divers call it one of the most dangerous and most fascinating places on Earth. But beneath those waters lies something even stranger. A legend whispered among fishermen and divers alike. A massive pitch-black shark known as El Monstro, the monster. For decades, stories have circulated about a shadow moving beneath the island. A creature nearly 20 feet long, with jagged teeth, black eyes, and a violent, unpredictable presence. Divers said it would circle silently at depth, its enormous shape blending perfectly with the darkness of the sea. At first, most people dismissed the tales as diving myths, the kind of ghost stories told to scare newcomers. But then came Dr. Sandra Basudo, a marine biologist who had heard those whispers her entire career. In 2001, she led an expedition to Malpelo, and during a dive, she claimed she saw it herself. A gigantic, shadowy shark emerging from the blue, longer than a van, its eyes unblinking. It came close, too close, then vanished into the depths. The encounter shook her so deeply that she returned the following year, hoping to find it again. So what was El Monstro? Was it a survivor from prehistoric times? A modern-day megalodon? Probably not. But the truth is almost as incredible. Marine experts believe that what she saw was likely a small-toothed sand tiger shark, a real deep-water predator known to reach nearly 17 feet in length. These sharks are rarely seen by divers. They prefer the cold, dark canyons of the deep sea. But occasionally, one may rise toward the light, giving birth to a legend. Still, others think the Malpelo monster might be something even rarer. The big sand tiger shark, a massive jet-black species so mysterious that fewer than 10 have ever been recorded in history. So maybe in those deep Pacific canyons surrounding Malpelo, a true monster still swims, not from fantasy, but from the shadowy corners of evolution itself. In Japan's endless archive of sea legends, there's one story that stands apart. Not of a beast, but of a being. A creature said to be half human, half shark, with the face of a demon and the heart of a man. They called it Samebito, literally, the shark person. According to the old tales, the Samebito lived deep in the South China Sea, weaving silk underwater that never got wet, and shedding tears that fell as pearls and rubies. It was said to have glowing emerald eyes, a dragon's beard, and a voice that echoed like the ocean itself. But the story wasn't always one of terror. In some versions, the Samebito was gentle, a creature banished from the sea god's realm, forced to wander among humans, lonely and misunderstood. It cried not out of rage, but sorrow. Now it's easy to write that off as myth, just another fantastical creature from Japan's endless folklore. But then again, every legend has roots in reality. Off Japan's coasts lives a real creature that fits this description surprisingly well. The Japanese wabagong, a bottom-dwelling carpet shark that's as bizarre as it is beautiful. It's covered in patterned camouflage, browns, yellows, and grays that blend perfectly with coral. Long tassel-like frills hang from its chin like a beard, and its eyes, when hit by light, flash green, glowing eerily against the seafloor. When the wobbegong strikes, its mouth snaps forward like an accordion, fast, silent, and shocking, giving it a demon-faced look that could terrify anyone who saw it for the first time. Now imagine a fisherman, centuries ago, leaning over his boat at night with a torch in hand. Suddenly, a strange face stares back from the dark. Green eyes glowing, a beard swaying, jaws flaring open. He would never forget that image. And when he told his story, the shark person was born. Maybe the Samebito never cried real pearls, but it did remind us of something timeless. That even monsters can be misunderstood, and that beauty often hides in the strangest forms. Our final legend comes from the dark waters off Japan's western coast, a place where fog rolls thick and the sea seems to breathe. Fishermen there still whisper about a creature they call Kagewani, which means the shadow shark. According to legend, this monster didn't just devour flesh, it devoured shadows.
Its dorsal fin appears
They
only
said
when
that if a
illuminated
fisherman leaned
indirectly.
too far over the side of his
Forming.
boat and his shadow touched the water, the Kagewani would rise, a vast, dark shape gliding silently from below, and swallow the man whole. No splash, no scream, only a ripple, and an empty boat left drifting on the tide. Villagers told stories of men disappearing without a trace, their companions swearing that something beneath the surface had stolen them, body and soul. For centuries, no one dared fish alone after dusk, and when the sea turned unnaturally still, they said it was because the shadow shark was hunting. But what could have inspired such a haunting myth? What kind of real creature could make people believe that the ocean itself was alive and watching? The answer might be one of the strangest sharks ever discovered, the megamouth shark. This real-life giant grows over 20 feet long, with a vast, glowing mouth and a dark, ghostly body. It moves slowly through the deep, feeding on plankton near the surface, its enormous mouth opening like a black hole in the sea. When one of these gentle giants rises at night, its shape looks almost supernatural. A huge, shadowy figure emerging from the abyss, mouth agape, glowing faintly in the dim light. To a fisherman centuries ago, staring down into that darkness, it would look like the sea itself had opened its jaws. So maybe the Kagewani was never hunting shadows at all. Maybe it was simply the ocean reminding us that we never truly see what's beneath us. Because sometimes, the scariest thing about the sea isn't the monsters we imagine. It's the ones that are really there. From the icy depths of Norway to the warm waters of Japan, we've chased legends born from fear, imagination, and truth. The Kraken, the black demon, the samurai shark, the Malpelo monster, the shark person, and the shadow shark. Each one a story that began with a glimpse, a sound, a shape moving just beneath the waves. Over centuries, those fleeting moments grew into myths. Myths turned into legends, and legends became the heartbeat of human curiosity. But here's the truth. Every monster we fear comes from something real. A misunderstood animal, a rare encounter, a trick of the light in the endless blue. When you strip away the fear, you find nature, vast, mysterious, and far more terrifying than any story ever told. Because the ocean doesn't need to invent monsters. It already has them. So the next time you stand by the sea and look into the horizon, remember, you're staring at a world we still barely understand. A world that's been hiding secrets for millions of years. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere out there, one of those legends is still alive. If you love exploring the strange and the unbelievable, make sure to subscribe,
but deep
hit
below,
that bell
a
icon,
titanic heartbeat
and join
like
us
pulse
every week
vibrates
as we
through the
dive
trenches.
deeper into the wildest corners of our planet. Because nature never stops surprising us. And the next creature we uncover might just make you question everything you thought you knew about the ocean.